The following program does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Let's ride, heading up 35. One way, we're headed at 90K. We'll over the two-lane causeway. We'll go left, it's gonna be a classy day. Kickstands down, head on over to the band stage. Kick back and listen to the band play. Whoa, whoa, let's take a ride today. Whoa, whoa, across the causeway. Rockin' day. Whoa, whoa, the classy chassis way.
Good evening and welcome to This House of Musicians with your host, singer, songwriter, and founder of the band, Inner City Outlaws, the Baritone Bear, Barry Smith, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is thishouseofmusicians@gmail.com.
Whoa, whoa, across the causeway.
And now, right to your host of This House of Musicians, Mr. Barry Smith.
Hey, good evening, fine listeners, and welcome to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote musicians, bands, and venues. Gary, how are you?
I'm fine and excited.
I'm excited too, folks. We have an amazing touring, studio touring, great singers, musician on the show with us tonight, Mr. Bruce Dixon, who's played with lots of amazing bands and done lots of touring. Bruce has played with Natalie McMaster, Rita MacNeil, Miles Goodwin, April Wine, Miles Goodwin. He was in a band called Oakley back in the day, played with the Chieftains. Just an amazing career of music. Bruce, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Barry, thank you. I'm doing well. And yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. We know, what a great career you've had and how much touring you've done and amazing people you've played with. So, Bruce, I want to start, my friend, right at the very beginning, like I always do, when you were younger, where you grew up, and who you were influenced by music-wise.
Alrighty. I guess I started in the basement at home. My brother played in the band, and they used to rehearse at my mom's house. And I used to watch them, and I got into playing bass a little bit through a friend of mine, Al Holland, who started to show me how to play it. He was a guitar player, and I took off with it. It was just a natural thing for me. So the bass player that played with my brother used to play in a group called the Great Scots, which came back home from the States. One of the guys got drafted into the Army, so they came back. And he was playing bass, and he said, if you want to use my bass, you can, but you have to keep it clean. And so that was
cool.
It was 65 precision. That was probably the cleanest bass in the world. But I used that, and then I went at it constantly. I never stopped. I would play hooky from school, pretend it was sick, so I could just play the bass or stay down the basement. And my mother would holler back down, come on up for breakfast at 7 or 8 in the morning. And just that's all I did for about 2 years. And I went to a high school dance when I got into high school. and there was a band called Sandy Road playing there. And a friend of mine, Dan Vio, was talking to the drummer. He was a drummer as well. And, he was complimenting the band. And he said, he said, you guys sound great. And he said, yeah, well, we got to get a new bass player. So Danny, he said, well, there's a guy I got here right now. So why don't you have a listen to him? So I auditioned for them after they finished the high school dance. And they took my number and they thought that, well, he's a bit young. I was only 15. So they thought he's a bit young to take on the road. So they were going to pass on me. But they did tell me, they said, listen, if you'd like to come away and see what it's like to travel, we're going to go to Oxford, Nova Scotia, play on Saturday. You can come. So I said, sure. I was excited. And I waited. And the bus pulled up in front of the house. They had an old 1952 Western Flyer. And it pulled up, and the guitar player came in and said, get your suitcase. You're starting Monday. And that was it. I started playing. And I was going to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And they picked me up, and we play all over the Maritimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Come home Sunday, and I started all over again. And I did that for a couple of years with that band until I got to grade 12, and I left school in grade 12 and started with Oakley. And we put Oakley together, and it recorded an album, and the album did really well. And we opened up for April Wine and the Dewey Brothers down the eastern part of their tour. And I stayed with Oakley for about 4 or 5 years. And then I left, and I thought I wanted to be a freelance player. And so I got into every kind of style I could get into. I taught myself by ear. And I just went at it. And, you fumble, you fall down, you get back up until you get it right. And off you went, So that's what I did. I started freelancing around town, playing the clubs. And then I started doing a lot of jingle and CDC work with Bob Quinn at first. And then I started doing the Studio H down here, where they would promote groups and artists. And I played in the backup band and all that stuff.
Sure.
From that, I'd be doing the clubs as well. So I'd be playing from probably 10 in the morning till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And then through the people, the community, I got called for Rita Skate, which was in 2000 or 1990. So I went and played with Rita for 23 years. In between there, I was playing with Laura Smith. I recorded all of Laura Smith's albums. She just passed away last year. I did Rita's Rock Cuisine. In between, Rita used to like touring at Christmas. She used to love to have the summer off. And she would tour in the winter for the Christmas stuff, and then a little tour in the spring. And Rock Cuisine used to tour in the spring and the fall. So it worked out really well. And I recorded with Rock. I think I did 3 albums, or maybe 4 total. I can't remember, but they were all great experiences with those people, and from that, I ended up with Rock. I ended up doing playing with a girl called Isabelle Boulay, and I ended up playing over in France in a lot for a tour with her for about 2 months, and did an album with her on that tour, and and various other people's around. I ended up I did a gig with Robin Ford for the Naropa Institute down here in Nova Scotia. And that was myself, Robin, and a couple of the other Jeff Amaro, Steve Amaro, and Kenny McKay, and Jerry Granelli was on drums. So that was quite a thing to remember. Bo Diddley was in there. I played with Bo. That was kind of interesting.
Amazing. Good for you. And
so
what? Go ahead.
No, it just went on and on like that with different people.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You've done so much stuff. I mean, look at what you just talked about. I just want to, so when you were just picking up the bass and you were younger, 15, 16, who were you influenced by? Who did you listen to?
Well, the first album I got, I was 13. I had an appendix attack, and I had it, and then they broke. And so I was in the hospital, and the school sent me an album, and it was, believe it or not, it was the April Wine album with the 4 heads on it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Can you imagine? And then now here you are, years later. You're on Miles's. You did a track on Miles's Blues, Friends of the Blues 1. You played 2 or 3 songs on with Miles on 2, and now you're working with Miles. We'll get to that in just a little bit because I know I want to promote what you guys have coming up here shortly. The 3 of you, Jim, Hennon, Miles, and yourself. But so sorry. Now, so you learned the whole April Wine album. Did you have the bass in the hospital?
No, I didn't have a bass at that point. The fellow down the street had one. He bought it at Sears for $11, and he never ended up playing it. This is before Dave Eisner lent me his. But I listened to the April Wine was the first album, and there was another band in town that I think they were out of Toronto called Everyday People, but they were from Halifax, and there was a really great bass player in that band named Carson Richards. But what made Carson so great was he didn't play. He just didn't play it, the Route 5 or he made up lines and grooves, and they were really interesting and intricate to learn. So I was lucky at a really young age to be able to grasp that kind of ability that he was doing. And then again, I went back to a high school dance, and I met a group called Sun Machine that was a big funk horn band, and I was amazed by that. And amazed by how funky it was. And I was talking to the bass player, and he said, if you want to be a funk player, go buy Tower of Power back to Oakland. And I was a fan. I studied Rocco's style for years and how he did it. He was my favorite bass player. I liked everybody else, like Lee Sklar and Will Lee, Michael Rhodes, and all those guys. They were great players, but Rocco to me was a pioneer and all that stuff. So he was my favorite player. But I took from him. I took from everyone, and then I made my own voice. I think I did anyway. So
you certainly did, and what a career, like I say, you've had, and what a great singer you are as well. Not only studio musician, bass player, but just not just a freelance musician, but also a great singer as well. Now, we're going to do something different tonight, folks. Yeah. We're going to play 3 songs instead of 2. So, Bruce, what I want to do, you'll be surprised how fast this show goes, this hour goes. So I want to play 3 songs for the folks out there tonight because they're all great songs, and you have collaborated on all of them. So why don't we go ahead and start with the first song, and then we'll discuss that when we come back from listening to the song. How does that sound?
Sure, great.
Great, Bruce. Again, amazing to have you on here. Again, folks, what a career this fella's had. Of course, I make it sound like it's over, but it's not. You're still going strong at it, Bruce, and that's amazing. So anyway, here's something that Bruce has collaborated on it's from Miles Goodwin from April Wine, Friends of the Blues 2. I saw someone there, and it was you. I saw someone there, and it was you. So this is a tune off an album that was released on October the 25th, 2019 by Miles Goodwin. Of course, Bruce Dixon is involved in collaborating, playing on this song as well. You're listening to this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
Everybody knows, and that sits well with me, 'cause that's how I want it to be. 'cause I finally got you off my back. And people in town all know that I pulled that plug a long time ago. And now I'm in deep despair. I saw someone that wasn't there. Baby, it was you. Baby, it was you. Is this some kind of voodoo? 'Cause baby, it was you. I had to look twice. Now let's go, kid.
Hey, welcome back, good listeners. I have the amazing Bruce Dixon on the show this evening. We just heard a Miles Goodwin song, I Saw Someone That Wasn't There, that Bruce Dixon obviously collaborated on. Bruce, let's talk about how you met Miles and how you led up to doing this with Miles' song.
Well, I met Miles back in, I guess it would be 1979, 80. When, as I said before, I was talking to you about the Oakley album. When we did the Oakley album in 1979, and we started to promote that album, and we ended up on the April Wine Tour down here in Newfoundland, around the rest of the Maritimes. So I kept in touch with, mostly I kept in touch with Jerry Mercer, if I was in Montreal and stuff. And when Miles moved back here, he doesn't live actually far from me, but he called me up one night and he said that he had a tune he wanted done on Friends of the Blues 1. He needed one track finished for this album, and would I do it? And I went in and did it. And, we knew one another, so we were a little more comfortable than just somebody walking in. And just hit it off. And when I finished, he says, I'm going to do another album, and I want to put the band together for this, and and promote it. So I want you to be part of it. And so, and that's basically what happened. After 20 years or 30 years, he moved back and hanging out, doing some playing with him. So it's good fun.
Absolutely. And there's one thing I can say about Miles is I've listened to his new blues albums. His voice has not changed over all the years in the April Wine days. It's just absolutely amazing.
That's why I played that tune. I played that tune because his voice is different. Then it sounds really great, and then it's one, that song wakes you up.
It definitely does. It's a good collaboration, and the musicians sound amazing on it for sure. I want to step back a little bit, Bruce, and talk about Rita MacNeil. You toured with Rita MacNeil for 23 years. Let's talk about places you've been with Rita. I'm sure that's one of the highlights in your life for sure, is touring with Rita MacNeil. 23 years. That's dedication. Let's just tell me a little bit about that. Maybe tell me a crazy story that happened on the road with Rita, something like that.
Well, I don't even know where to begin with Rita, because I first met Rita. I was playing with a guy named Terry Kelly down here, and Terry is blind, and but he was a runner as well. And it was in the 80s. They were having a big gala in St. John's, Newfoundland. Terry was from Newfoundland, and some friends of mine were playing with Rita, but I was playing with Terry, and Rita was on this show. Gordon Pinson and André Philippe Gagnon, a bunch of different artists. So it was a real great show to do. But I was getting on the elevator, and Rita walked on with her assistant, and she looked at me, and she was only a small little thing. She was only 5 foot nothing. And she said, she says, "Are you the one that sings high, dear?" That was her first words to me. And I said, "Well, I guess." And she never forgot me. And when the band needed a bass player, I got it. And it was immediate. I think I'm a big fella, and I think that made her feel comfortable, knowing, maybe that I might have had her back or something. You know what I mean? It made her comfortable.
Yeah, sure. Bodyguard as well.
Yeah, she was a shy girl. And we just hit it off. We were friends from that moment on. And, I was always in awe of her writing. Her writing was just fantastic. I mean, people know her for, the coal mining tune and I'll Accept the Rose and all of those songs. And, but she had some other tunes. If you want to really go listen to some of her other albums, there's some great tunes that she wrote that really never got the just that they should have gotten.
Right.
Just incredible. Rita would write a song, and I didn't know where Mary lived, but I knew if I saw the house, I knew it was Mary's. It was that kind of writing. She was that vivid, and her writing was very, very amazing like that. And they were simple too. They're very simple, and the melodies were simple, but they were just beautiful. She really had a great insight. She was a really good storyteller, and that's one of the big things that I most remember. But she was a great person too. We did the television show together in 94, 95, and 96, I believe it was. Rita and Friends, which I was always proud of that show because you could have Rita and then Kim Mitchell would be on, and 5440, and and then Laura was on that. Teresa Malafont was on that. Everybody was on that show.
Amazing.
And I guess on we used to be on Friday nights at 8:00, and on Saturday, HMV would have what they called the Rita rack at the front of the store. And
that's cool.
And all the people that performed on the show the night before, their CDs and product was put out front, and it would shoot their sales up. It was quite amazing. I was really proud of that show. I was proud to work on that show. It's a lot of people, a lot of good people on that. So,
absolutely.
We got to we went to Australia twice with her. We played the Sydney Opera House. We played all over from Cairns to Sydney. To the last place was Ballarat. I don't know if you ever heard of that place or not. But nope. We went there all on the Gold Coast. And then we played Royal Albert Hall with Rita.
Amazing. Good for you.
One of the funny stories, we were staying at the Mayfair. And at the Mayfair was Michael Bolton staying there, Gloria Estefan and her band, and Vanilla Ice. And our manager at the time looked like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. And there was a bunch of paparazzi around outside waiting for Vanilla Ice at the Mayfair. And as soon as our manager walked out, we all started hollering, "Vanilla, Mr. Vanilla." And all the paparazzi are clicking, and they were looking for him, couldn't find him. And it was Brooks, Mr. Burns, coming out. So that was pretty good. Rita just...
That's hilarious.
Laugh along with it, it's pretty cool. And then they had the big tour buses in front of, and we had a little band in behind. It was just funny,
So humble.
Yeah, it was good times, But
yeah, and so that leads me to an email that I got from John. John says, "Hi Bruce, I'm just wondering, when you played with Rita, what was your favorite place to play?" Now you might have just said that, but that leads me to this question because that's what we were talking about.
I think, when you go to Australia and you go to the British Isles or you go to the US, wherever you're going, they're always an adventure. I think Australia was my favorite of all of them. I liked England too. I really liked England a lot. But if I was going to play here, I used to like playing the O'Keefe Centre in Toronto when it was the O'Keefe Centre. We used to play 5 nights there. And I liked the QE Theatre in Vancouver. Vancouver was a favorite spot because, number one, that's where Rita broke, was in Vancouver during the Expo. But the really, really cool thing about playing there was the place would be packed with 3,000 people, and you would have an older lady sitting beside a young woman that had multicolored hair with the Iroquois cut, or yeah, you know what the audience was really pretty diverse.
Everybody.
Yeah, they were all there for one thing, for the songs. It was amazing. That I'd say my two top places was Toronto and Vancouver, but I always had a warm spot when I played home. I think my favorite would be playing the Metro Center with Rita. We did it in the round. Stage was beautiful, big stage, and we were right in the center of the ice, and it sounded like a stereo. It was stereo in there. Al Strickland was our soundman at the time, and he just was brilliant at it. Yeah, that was one of. There's a lot of places that are favorite. Can't put it to one.
I bet. No, that's just some amazing stories right there. Now, we want to go ahead and play another song here shortly. Let's talk about how you met Ian James. Ian is an amazing songwriter, singer. Talk a bit about him, and then we'll do a song off an album that he released in February of 2017.
Yeah. I met Ian. Ian was 19 years old. He was a carpenter. He was doing carpentry work, and he was, he'd do a bit of carpentry work, and he'd go into a friend's studio, Don Chapman's, and record a song or two, and he'd have different guys playing. Anyway, my phone rang one night, and it was this 19-year-old kid. It was Ian, and it's like, hey, would you mind playing on my 3 songs for me? And I'm saying, well, yeah, sure. And he says, I'm just finishing a veranda, and I can pay X amount of dollars.
That's awesome.
I remember that. And so I called Donnie, who was a real good friend of mine at the time. And, I asked him, I said, what's the deal with this kid? And he said, this guy, he's the real deal. He said, he's just really talented and got a really great soul. And he's a good writer. So I called him back, I said, sure. And I went and recorded 3 tunes with him on that album. And I co-produced with the second one. And then he's, done a few here and there with them songs and gigs. But the last one I did was this tune I think you're going to play, Yes Man, which is the title track of this album. And he wanted sort of a James Jameson-esque style, so that's what I tried to do. And this is my version of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long did you play with Ian for?
I still play with him off and on. I think we did some work in 2017 or 18. Did that CBC show. I think I sent that to you, that link.
You did?
Yeah. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great show. And Owen O'Sound Lee's on that. Kim Dunn is another great musician here. And JR, the drummer, plays on Miles' stuff, on the blues album stuff. So cool. we get to work out. Yeah. So anyway, that's basically the rundown of that. And I wanted you to play that because the 3 tunes, the 2 of them are blues, and this is just a different, a different run at something. So you can have a boo at that.
Absolutely. And listener, go and check out Ian James' CBC show. Of course, Bruce is playing bass there. He has a 5 or 6 piece band on stage, and it's just absolutely mesmerizing, the CBC show, folks out there. So make sure you check out Ian James. Right now, we're going to play Yes Man from the title track. Yes Man from the album called Yes Man, which was released February 2017. Of course, Bruce is playing bass on here. And I'm sure you're doing some backup vocals too, right, Bruce?
No, not on this one. No, that's, okay. You know who that is? That's, I think it might be Renee Smith. I think Renee's on this. I'm not sure, but I think it might be Owen O'Sound, the gentleman I talked about that was with us at CBC.
Sure.
He's
awesome.
a great
Folks, check this out. Ian James, Bruce Dixon collaboration, playing bass on here. Again, the song is called Yes Man. You're listening to this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
me be your yes man. Let me play in the big band. Let me be your yes man. With the lights down low. Let me be your yes man. If anyone can do it, I can. Let me be your yes man. I'm never gonna say no. Look into your eyes. I might sound a little crazy, but I won't be telling lies. I can rattle, I can shake, whatever it will take just to be your yes man. Let me play in the big band. Come on, be your yes man. With the lights down low. Let me be your yes man. If anyone can do it, I can. Let me be your yes man. I'm never gonna say no. Let me be your yes man. Let me play in the big band. Be the one you run to. With the lights down low. Let me be your yes man. If anyone can do it, I can. Let me be your yes man. I'm never gonna say no. Let me play in the big band. Let me be your yes man. With the lights down low. Wanna be your yes man. If anyone can do it, I can. Let me be yes man. Never gonna say no. No. Never gonna say no.
Hey, folks, welcome back to this House of Musicians radio show. I have Bruce Dixon on the show this evening, and what an amazing career Bruce has had. So many things places he's been and things that he's done and people that he's played with. Let's just talk about a bit about Yes Man and how you got involved with that. I think we might have already discussed that, but I'm just going to ask you again how you got involved with Ian.
Well, again, back, I met him since he was 19, and we've been friends ever since. But that particular tune, he just called up, and Ian's like that. He's a singer-songwriter. He's doing a lot of songwriting in LA and Nashville now, and he's had a couple of tunes. I know one tune that was on that show called Nashville, and it was just a killer song. He really is a great writer. Ian's got a lot of soul, and he's he's just an all-around great guy. But as he usually does, he just calls up, can you come over and do a tune? And, you pack up and you go over and do it. And
that's amazing.
Then he asks you, he wanted, I think that one there, he wanted more of a Jameson style, old 60s kind of style. I mean, I'm not trying to, by any means, copy Jameson, but try to catch that feel. And I think it's okay. I think it came out okay. So.
Came out great, and so you're definitely the go-to guy when it comes to doing studio work. A lot of people call you up and say, come on in, we got some work for you. So that's amazing. I know that Bruce too, you've played with Matt Anderson. Let's talk about Matt Anderson and how you hooked up with him.
Matt, I just got a call, if I could, this is a few years ago now. He had a gig over in PEI. And I knew the drummer, Pat Hayes, at that time was playing with him. So it was myself and Pat. And we did a gig outside Summerside. And it was in a field. And it was just a trio. And the place was, packed with people. And Matt has this thing where he can grab an audience and just have them in his hands. It's amazing to see. And what I really saw was not the first night, but the second night in Charlottetown. We were playing down on the waterfront. It was a blues festival, and he came out, and it was just the trio, and there might have been 200 or 300 people at the start of it. And by the time he got it rocking, it had to be 5,000-6,000 people, and he had them all in his hand. And he's a personable guy. He's a great writer. He's a hard worker, playing wise. He's never stops. He's all over the world. And he's well respected wherever he goes. And the next time I work with Matt, I think it was I got a call out of the blue to go up to do a live gig up in Inverness area with him and a few other guys from home. And then after that, I did a symphony gig with him. It was like 2 nights with the symphony. And then I ended up doing a record, Weightless. Matt Anderson's, the album's called Weightless. Steve Berlin produced that one from Los Lobos. And then then we started doing these Christmas things, which are really cool because the people that are involved are different in some cases in every show. Like it might be a show in Kentville, let's say, Nova Scotia, and the next one is over in Charlottetown, and then the next one is in Ottawa, and all these special guests that come to those. And the National Arts Centre, we played there twice with that show, and it's different every time, and it's a real fun show to do because Matt is really witty. So he's an all-around great guy and another good songwriter. These guys are, they're right up there. So yeah, Matt's we had a bunch of shows booked. Of course, COVID just kicked the hell out of those. And I was disappointed because I was looking really forward to playing with him again, Anyway,
sure.
Yeah, so that's the deal there with him.
Sure. And what were you doing just before COVID hit and we had to pack everything up? What were you doing at that time?
We had just gotten back. We were I was with Miles and Jimmy. We were down in Florida. We were playing down there on some gigs, convention gigs. And we were in Florida for three or 4 days. And then there was talk of this flu or this bug going around. And we left Florida and we flew to Texas. And then, you start hearing a little more about this COVID thing. So after we finished Texas, we went to Las Vegas, and then we were there for 3 or 4 days, and then down to Arizona. And in hindsight, we got home on the 12th or 13th of February, and then this thing really started to take off. It was almost like we missed a bad storm. We were just ahead of this bad storm.
Right.
And we got home on the 13th, and 3 weeks later it's a pandemic. So we escaped all that down there. It was kind of weird, kind of crazy. But that's where we were last year. We got home around the 13th of February, and we were kind of hoping we'd go again this year, but the COVID hit that, and it made for a long, cold winter.
It sure did, but at least you're doing some side stuff during COVID. You're getting into the studio still with Miles and whoever, and getting stuff done. So you're staying busy that way, which is a good thing. Yeah,
and people are sending me tracks home. I'll get a call for can I put a track down for somebody, and I really enjoy that because you can you can take the song and play it, and you can be more creative with it without wasting people's time, because it's just my time. So it's okay. You can sit there, and if you want to do an hour's work on it or 3 hours work, it doesn't matter. You can just really, really hone in on it. And I like that. It's kind of a nice, it's different outlet for being creative with a song. So yeah, I like that stuff. I like.
Absolutely. And are you still brushing up every day, playing something?
Yeah. I'm not a great reader, but I taught myself how to get better at it over the COVID. I think my partner, Kathy, could tell you, I spent probably 2 hours, 3 hours a day sometimes just learning how to read. And I can't read, we used to say fly crap off the wall, but I can, I'm much more comfortable with it. And, I could get along with it. Okay. If I had a little bit of time to woodshed, but I don't need near the time I needed when I was doing the symphony stuff and had a woodshed. That's for sure. So,
yeah, no kidding, eh?
So, yeah, I think you got to practice every day. If there's COVID, no COVID, I think you got to practice it a little bit. But I was saying to Kathy last week, I was kind of down about it the last week last week. Just didn't want to do anything. But I think it's because I kept at it for so long, and I just needed a break from it. But I'm back at it again.
Yeah, so. Good for you. And, that's all you can do really for now is just keep, practicing, plugging along, because we know everything is going to start back up sooner or later. I'm sure you'll be back on the road. And that's what you're planning to do, is get back on the road then, correct?
Well, we'll get back to playing. It'll depend on the politicians, how far we can go and when, but right now, Nova Scotia is fine by me,
Yeah, sure. You're playing in Nova Scotia. Let's talk about what you have coming up here in the next, I think, what's the date on that, Bruce? You have something with Miles and Jim. Yes. By the way, we had Jim Henman on the show, Jim Henman, and what an amazing singer, songwriter Jim is, and just a down to earth guy. So it was a pleasure to have him on the show. We also had Miles on the show as well, as everybody knows, and he was a gentleman too on the show. So let's just tell everybody what you got going on with Miles and Jim.
Well, we've got gigs coming, and people are being smart about booking, and they're booking further on down the future with the places around Halifax and around Nova Scotia. Next week is sold out. Apparently, I was just looking at my phone. Somebody said it's sold out. So maybe
of course it would be.
Yeah, maybe there'll be another date added for that. We do some stuff in Halifax. We've got some bookings coming up there, but it's later on. I think when the vaccines start flying, I think it's going to be a little better. I think people are going to start going to get those vaccines, and it'll come back more normal than it has been, for sure. But the gigs are coming, and the recording's still coming in, and the practicing is still going on, and all of that stuff is still happening. It's just be nice to be in front of people and playing. It's a big part of it. I really miss.
Absolutely. And that's going to happen sooner than later. I think we're, like you say, once these vaccines start hitting, they're getting more popular now as far as going in drugstores and whatnot. So, and I think people, Bruce, honestly, are going to be dying to get out and see shows too, because like, for example, my wife and I go to a lot of shows and concerts, and we just miss it dearly.
Well, we were talking about that here at home, and I have my theory is that people are so starved for music, and I mean real music. I'm not talking. There's going to be the disco ones and the kids and all that. They're going to go to that, but the people that really want to hear music, I think it's going to explode. I think it's going to. They want to get out. They want to hear music, but they want to hear good music. And I don't know how much bad music is going to be tolerated, really.
No kidding.
That's flying around. I don't. Nothing. I'm not trying to put anybody down. That's what I'm saying. But I think people want to see people playing and singing music. And, I can guarantee you none of us have a dance routine in the trio or any band playing. We don't have dancers. Right. It'll be all right,
Absolutely.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think people really, really want to hear music. They really want to get out. It's funny because when during the war and during depressions, the first thing people did was they wanted entertainment. They wanted to get out. They wanted to get away from the problems that arise from all of that stuff and be entertained, dance and listen to good music. And that hasn't happened this time. Everything's been cut. Everybody had to go home and stay home. So people are missing that, So I hope I'm right.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it's going to boom when the musicians get back at it. There's no doubt about that. Everybody's dying to get out and see something live. I got an email from Blaine C, and Blaine says, "I love the music tonight. That last song was really nice." I'm sure he's referring to Yes Man. The vocalist on it sounded like trained vocalist Pat Monahan. So that's a comment from Blaine. Yeah. Thank you for the email, Blaine.
Yeah, thanks. Me would like to hear that, I'm sure. But
yeah, that's a great compliment.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come around. It's going to come. It's funny when we even have a rehearsal. You leave the rehearsal feeling pretty good because there's that interaction and creativity. It's hard. I think when you do it your whole life and it's taken away like that, even as much as it may piss you off over your lifetime, and with all the foolishness that goes. you really miss that getting together with people and being creative. You know, when you get 5 guys in a room, you know, I always say if you get 5 guys in the room on the same page, it's the best drug in the world. You know,
for sure.
Yeah. So
huge adrenaline, that's for sure. Now, I know you've done some stuff with Wayne Nicholson and John Campbell John from an album called Elmore's Blues. Why don't we play a tune from that? Like I said, I want to play 3 songs tonight. Why don't we play a tune from that album, and then we'll discuss how you got involved with Wayne Nicholson, John Campbell John folks. I have Bruce Dixon on the show this evening. Amazing career, played with lots of amazing people. And right now we're going to hear something else, a project that he's worked on. It's by Wayne Nicholson and John Campbell John. This was released May 2020 from an album called Elmore's Blues. And this song's called Rollin' and Tumblin'. You're listening to this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
Yeah. All right. Well, I roll and I tumble. I cry the whole night long. Yes, I roll and I tumble. I cry the whole night long. I got up this morning feeling something's going on wrong. That's right. Hey. I want you to love me, baby. Or please let me be. I want you to love me, baby. Or please let me be. If you don't like my peaches, please don't shake my tree. Hey, wait. Oh. Shake. Well, I want you to love me, baby. Come on and say that you'll be mine. Yeah, I want you to love me, baby. Come on, say you'll be mine. If you don't like my potatoes, please don't shake my vine. Don't dig it. Oh, no. Come on. Well, I roll and I tumble. Oh, I roll and I tumble. I am rolling and tumbling. Oh, yeah. Please don't shake my vine. Dig up my vine. Dig up my vine.
Hey, folks, welcome back. Indeed, we have Bruce Dixon on the show this evening, and Bruce is Mr. Go-To Man. He's played with so many people, had such a great career. I want to talk, Bruce, about Wayne Nicholson, John Campbell John, Elmore's Blues album, and how you got involved in that.
Well, again, Barry, it was I've known Wayne. Actually, I've known John and Wayne for a very long time. Wayne was a singer for Oakley back in 78, 77. And John, I did John's first album, John Campbell John. John is a great blues player and a great singer and a great writer. You can hear it and he's playing. And Wayne was just like, there's no better rock singer or blues singer than that guy. He's just,
what a voice.
Yeah, he's got he can almost feel that little attitude sneak out in that tune. I like that. So this whole album just came. He called me, said, "Would you do this album? It's about we're going to do a tribute to Elmore James." And I think there's one tune on the album, that one or two possibly, that are written by those Wayne and John, but it fits into that niche quite well. And he's the tunes they just called. And when I listen to the record, it's playing with different groups is all about the chemistry of the musicians you play with. When I play with Miles and the blues band, it's a different chemistry, but it's a good chemistry. It's the same, and the trio is a good chemistry as well. And Wayne, I've always had a good chemistry with. So there's only myself, Neil, playing drums, John Campbell, John, and myself on this album, and then Kim Dunn, who does a lot of stuff around here. He's a very great player. Kim's playing organ, and there's another fellow playing. Barry is playing piano on some of the tunes on that album. So the nucleus when we went in to do it was just the four of us, myself and John, Wayne, and Neil, and it was like most of the album's one take, maybe 1-2 takes.
Amazing.
And it was just it was like, let's just go for it, and that's what we did. And the reason why I picked that tune was you always hear people say, well, blues is that. Well, blues is 3 chords, but to make it really rock and roll and on 1 chord is what got me. And that tune just builds in my. That tune just kept building and building to the end of it, and that's what I liked about it. And there's a lot of great tunes on that album as well. But it's again, the whole album was done in 2 days. I think the bit tracks are all done and we wrote it there, and there weren't long days, so it was a lot of fun to do. That album was a lot of fun too as well. So
yeah, and that's what the pros do. They get in there and they get it done. I mean, you get in there and like you say, you don't read music, but I'm sure you have a great ear. Whereas if you hear a song, I'm sure they send you the songs beforehand or some rough cuts, and you just go in there and nail it.
We had a rehearsal for this one, but I mean, yeah, I was and no fool, and I was blessed with to have a good set of ears to the point where it's probably a detriment to be able to read, because I can trust my ears better, and I can pick out anything that I need to work on or on a tune, and I can pretty well do it just driving into the gig, on a lot of stuff. So anyway,
yeah, absolutely. My wife would. I think I have good ears when it comes to music too. My wife would say something different because she says I never listen to her. So. There you go.
That's a different kind of listening, Barry.
That's a different kind of listening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kathy will tell you that too. But anyway, tell me one of my favorite parts of this show, Bruce, is I ask the artist, tell me a crazy story. Put you right on the spot here. A crazy story that's happened to you on a bus, on a plane, on a show, on stage, anything at all during your music career. Tell me a crazy story.
Well, I don't know if it's crazy or not, but I mean, talk about fluky and funny. When I first started with Rita, I used to take, a Xanax or something. I was really scared of flying. And my partner's a flight attendant, and I was scared of flying. And so I used to take, I don't know if it was Valium. At one point it was Valium. And I had I just woke up one day in Toronto. We had to go to not Kenora, Kamloops, or one of those places. So we were flying, and I remember it was Air Canada had a seat sale, and it was there was also a promotion if you were sitting in the winning seat. So I said to myself, "Friggin', if I gotta do this on pills, I either got to find a new job or get over it, And I mean,
sure.
So scared of it. Anyway, so I said, "Friggin'," I didn't take anything, and went out to the airport, checked in. Got everybody bumped up to executive class. We all got bumped up, and so we're sitting there. So yeah, really. I mean, so we're having White Russians, and we're going along, and I'm sitting in 2B. I'll never forget it. And Bill, one of the keyboard players, was sitting beside me, and he's sitting there. We're just, shooting the crap. And the guy comes on and says, "Okay, we're going to draw for the seat." And they called it. I won 2B, and I was in the seat. So I won 20 or 40,000 points for Air Canada, so you could fly anywhere you wanted, in North America. So
that's great.
We had to land in Calgary. We got in Calgary. We landed. We're waiting for a plane, and it's a small plane, and it was overbooked. So they said, "Anybody want to stay behind? We'll pay you 150 cash." And so me and Al Strickland of Sound, he had the gold card for the Maple Leaf Lounge, so we both stayed behind. So I'm not even halfway through the trip. I got 150 bucks in my pocket. And we got bumped up, and I got free booze in the gold lounge there. We go out, we get on our plane, we're flying, and it's me and Al and the curling team. There's, I guess, a great big thing going on in Kamloops for this big curling event, tournament or whatever it was. Anyway, we're on the plane, and they call the winning seat, and I won again.
What? Holy smokes!
I won 2 seats, and I won 150 bucks. And I got there, and Al told everybody in the band, they were all pissed. Geez, I got pissed off. One guy got pissed off. "If you win again, you got to give it to us." So that was one of the fun stories. Or there was another one with Rita. We were with Rita one time, and in Thunder Bay, we had finished the concert. And Rita would never, God love her, she'd never try to hurt anybody's feelings. We're having a drink after the tour. We always did that, had a drink and sat around and talked and that. The band. We're sitting there, and this guy comes over. He's half in the bag, and he's Rita MacNeil. She says, "Yes, dear." And he goes, "Rita, thank you for coming to Thunder Bay. Do you like Thunder Bay?" And Rita said, "Yeah, yes, I love it." It's beautiful. He says, "Well," he said, "do you like skiing?" Rita looks at everybody, and she goes, "Oh, yes, dear." God says, "When you come back, we'll take you skiing." Oh, that'd be lovely. He leaves, and her assistant looks at her like she's got 3 heads. She says, Rita says, "What are you looking at?" She says, I won't tell you what she said, but she said, "What's wrong with you? Like, what are you going to ski with? 2 pieces of plywood? What the hell's wrong with you?"
That's hilarious.
But she would not ever, ever hurt his feelings or anything. That's the way she was. But it was, of course, it was a great career. It's still going, and I'm really quite lucky. I was talking to a guy today about it, and I said, my best before date was probably 30 years ago, when you're 30 years old or 32 years old. He said, "You know what?" He said, "When you're young, you're a dog act. And when you're 60, you're a dog act, and everything in between, you learn." So anyway, I'm still here. You absolutely do. So anyway,
you absolutely are, and you're still going strong at it. And when you're good, you'll keep getting phone calls. There's a segment of the show that I like to do, Bruce, called, "Well, Gary, what do you think?"
What do I think? I love the music. The blues stuff is really cool, but it's mainstream as well. A lot of times blues is a very specific genre, and I could see this being played heavily in rotations, some of this stuff. So I'm just wishing Bruce and the guys the best for this, because I really enjoyed it. Good musicianship, good production, good arrangements, excellent vocals. So good luck, Bruce. Good luck with that.
Thank you. I think both blues albums don't. Each tune sounds different than the other. It doesn't sound like a bunch of tunes that are really linear and run together. Each tune sounds like a different band. In some cases,
sure, absolutely.
And they play along. And Ian's got a good thing happening there with that R&B, and that he's I've been very fortunate with all the guys that I play with. There's not one that I look at that I'm not. From Lenny Gallant to Rita MacNeil to Rock Cuisine to whoever. I'm very grateful to be there and had been there and learn from every one of them. So yeah, I have no regrets, that's for sure. But I'm still got time to go yet. So, I'll keep at it and see where it takes me.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And Bruce, what can I say? It's an honor to have you on our show. Again, folks, what an amazing career Bruce has had. And I know you're still going strong. You got a live show coming up with Jim and Miles here shortly. Good for you. Bruce, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. I'm going to keep following your progress and we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barry. Thanks, Gary. And hope maybe we'll see you in Ontario.
Great.
That'll be great to see us.
I would love to come see you guys when you come to Ontario. That'd be wonderful. Just reach out, Bruce. And to the listener, I say thank you for being here and always dance and sing. Let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week and good night. You've been listening to This House of Musicians on Reality Radio 101.